Boston College holds their first official visit weekend. No commitments are in. Should you worry? I don't think so, and I'll explain why.
You are Locked On Boston College, your daily podcast on the Boston College Eagles. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is Locked On Boston College, your team every day. I am your host, AJ Black. I'm the editor of Eagle Insider, part of the 247 Sports Network. I have been the host of the show for 5 years. I've been covering this team for over a decade. If you're looking for scoops, analysis, and great Boston College content, you are in the right place. And today's show is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Got a packed show for you guys today. Mega camp held at BC on Sunday. Couple new offers, but I'm going to explain why this camp is a big deal and why, even if it's not for results with offers, it's something that you should be watching and paying attention to. Kai Pritchard, top 247 recruit. Some things happened this weekend. I feel like BC's in better shape than the beginning of the weekend. I'll explain what that means. And let's dive into the first official visit weekend. So on Friday and Saturday, Boston College hosted 12 or 13 recruits on campus for their official visits. I was excited about this. There's a lot of, really good recruits. I mentioned Jermaine Polk and Josiah and Yancey. There is wide receiver Carlos Santana Carlos, all these guys. And usually, they have this big weekend. You have the Sunday morning news dump. And that's usually when you start to get the earn it tweets from Spencer Dickow. The staff gets excited and you start to think and wonder who is going to commit. There was none of that on Sunday. At first, I chalked that up to the mega camp. I was like, well, the staff's all there. They have to do, this. I heard up to 1,000 recruits on campus or high school players on campus. They're probably pretty busy, so maybe they don't have the time to do the social media thing. But time ticked. It was a 12-hour camp. Nothing. Even when the camp was over, nothing. And I can confirm at the time of this recording that no one had committed yet. So that may, you see if you're on social media and you follow any site on 247 or Rivals, whatever, you follow their site reporters and you saw like Wisconsin had a big weekend, Rutgers had a big weekend, and then there's little old BC and nothing. And I got to say, it was at first a little jarring because I am used to going back to the Jeff Hafley years, 2, 3. I even put it up on my site. I said 2.5 was my number for this week of commits. And right now the answer is 0. Now, folks are probably going to freak out about this. They're like, why? Wait, what is the message not resonating? Is it an NIL issue? What's going on, AJ? Pump your brakes for a second here, because I think there's a few factors that are in play. This year, more than any, you look at the recruits that are coming on campus, almost up and down that line, all of them have multiple official visits. This being the final year before the salary cap or whatever you want to call it that could be coming down the line, you have to imagine that these recruits this year are going to want to hear the pitches from every school. You can't just guess, what you're going to get. Like if you go to one school and their NIL collective in years past would just blow you away, then you just end up at that school. Or you like what you hear at one school, and that just, that seals the deal. For this year, many of these kids are going to want to hear how they're going to do this kind of stuff, because it's going to be different from school to school. It could be drastically different. So I think that you may see schools like Big Ten schools. I just mentioned Rutgers and Wisconsin, who have a lot of money to throw around, I'm sure, doing things a little differently. But look at the ACC schools. It was relatively quiet for many of them. Like, you didn't see a ton. I don't think I heard anything out of Syracuse, Wake Forest, and NC State got like 1. So it's a different beast, it feels like, this year. And I talked to 4 or 5 of the 12 so far, and the message is definitely resonating. I talked to Jermaine Polk, for instance. This is a kid who has official visits set up to Wisconsin, which may not happen. because they just landed, I think, 2 or 3 defensive tackles. So he may be gone, as in like gone from them. Like that could be a good thing for BC. Um, I talked to him and like he had a great time. It was a very good official visit for him. So I don't freak out yet. And the other piece that comes up for me is the class size. I don't think BC is like last year for their official visit season. I feel like they had like 3 or 4 recruits committed at that point. And then they grabbed 15 during official visit. Like the bulk of their class came during official visit season. They're at 13 right now. I think if my calculations are correct, I'm expecting to have a class of like 21, 22, maybe 23, because of the roster caps. They have to be careful. They can't just keep taking everybody. When you have guys that if they take it, you're going to take them. Think of it this way. None of the guys that are like automatic takes were here this week. Carter Gooden, Kai Pritchard, Marky Walbridge, and Femi Babalola. Pretend all 4 of them commit. You're now up to 17 recruits, or 17 or 18. My math's terrible. You're going to want another kicker because I think Luca Lombardo is done after next year. That's 18. That gives you 3 to 5 spots for the rest of your class. You have to be careful. I think maybe the staff has a different thought than me. I'm just saying from an outsider's perspective, you can't just go and just grab everybody, like first picks from everything. You have to be careful. And you look at a lot of positions and they have guys at every position already. Like they have 2 wide receivers. They have a potential defensive tackle in Mac Fitzgerald. They've got a linebacker. They've got the secondary, I don't think is a big priority. They got their tight end already. You need a running back. You need that's another position right there. So when you have a heavy class like this, you can sit on it a little bit. Like you don't have to rush. Figure it out. You got a chance to meet these kids. You got a chance to meet their families. Which ones impressed you the most? And then you got a couple of more weeks. If there's someone that really, really impresses you, you take them. If there's someone that you need to wait on, you wait on them. You have to do it. So I'm looking at this class too from a management perspective. It's boring, but that's what you got to do. They don't have infinite roster spots. They're going to have a tough year next year anyways, potentially with this new house settlement. Remember, the cap is at 105. They're thinking of grandfathering in kids this year. They're still not clear how this is even going to roll out. So you got to be careful with how you manage your roster because you can't go over that number. You're going to lose players. So that's going to be an issue. So we could see, I'm going to say this too. It's Sunday. Kids could go home, think on it in a day or two, call Boston College up and say, hey, I would love to commit. And they take it. That could still happen as well. But I also want to say, the kids that were here this week, some really interesting ones on there. The heavy hitters are coming up. Next weekend's Femi. You got Marky Walbridge and Carter Gooden coming later. That's when things are going to get interesting. That's when things are going to really be. Those are the names I think they'll probably push more for when they're there. And those are the weekends you may see on a Sunday, a bigger news day. But I want to say this too. I talked to Lex Willis. I talked to Jermaine Polk. I'm talking to Charlie Tom. I've got a bunch of interviews coming up on Eagle Insider right now. If you want to join us, 60% off. You can get in for the price of a cup of coffee. That's my saying. Support local BC coverage. Get all the insider information. I got all the accurate stuff. You can go other ways and get free things, but trust me, I have my sources. I talk to people. I have the most accurate information. So I hope you join us over there. Now, in a moment, speaking of big names, I want to get into Kai Pritchard, offensive lineman from Donovan Catholic. He's a 4-star, top 247. He just took a big visit, and some things happened at that visit that I think you should know about. We'll talk all about that in just a moment. Ever check your bank account and wonder where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You could track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So just stop managing your money and start building your wealth. For me and my family, I did a terrible job this weekend. We went out to dinner twice. Ouch. But we've been working on managing our money, making sure we do a better job on how much we spend eating out. And we've been doing a good job. We had a little relapse. Monarch Money is going to help me make sure that me and my wife get back on the same page. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LockedOnCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LockedOnCollege for half off your first year. Welcome back. This is Locked On Boston College, your team every day. I'm your host, AJ Black. And if you are an everydayer, if you are someone who listens to this podcast every single day, you know about Kai Pritchard. Kai Pritchard is a class of 26 offensive lineman from Donovan Catholic in New Jersey. He's a four-star, top 247, meaning top 247 recruits in the country. He's like 220-ish, who is down to top 3 of BC, Rutgers, and Illinois. Now, he already had taken his visit to Illinois. It went really well from what I've heard. This weekend, he was on his trip to Rutgers, and he's coming to BC shortly. Now, I worried going into this trip that he took to Rutgers that Pritchard was going to go down the road of Chris Vigna. If you remember last year, Chris Vigna was a recruit from New Jersey, 3-star who had been to BC a couple times. I felt the Eagles were in great shape with him, but it took one trip to his home state school in Graciano and whatever else happened behind closed doors that I don't know about for him to not even make it to BC and commit to Rutgers. Pritchard, kind of the same thing, right? Like he's from New Jersey. The Illinois guy on 247, myself, we're all going, watch Rutgers here because this is a tough one. The interesting thing that happened this weekend, I haven't heard anything about Pritchard and Rutgers, but Rutgers now has 5 offensive line. I think they landed 4 this weekend. None of them Kai Pritchard. And to me, that I find very good news for BC. The fact that they have now basically a full offensive line class. They got 5. I think BC would go up to 6 with theirs if they could get Markey and Kai Pritchard, or sub one out for Charlie Tom. I think this definitely will help make sure that Pritchard makes a trip to BC. And with this being the last trip of the big 3 for him, it puts Boston College in a really good spot. So the fact that he was not one of those that committed at the time of recording, things can change. That's the joy of this. I'm recording this on Sunday night. He could commit to Rutgers over the night. I haven't heard any buzz about that though. So I think that's a good sign for Boston College because BC has kind of been in the top 3, but the Big Ten schools, they have felt from the buzz I get that they're the big 2 for this one. But I love BC's underdog attitude in this. The fact that they can kind of go in here and potentially win this recruiting battle and get your second top 247 recruit. I think you have to go back to Drew Kendall or Clinton Burton. I don't even think Clinton Burton Jr. was in that. For BC to have 1, and BC would now then be up to 2 top 247 recruits. That's what I'm talking about when I say that BC's recruiting class is taking a next step. So yeah, they didn't get any commitments on Sunday, but they have the basis for this class to take off. And the fact that their class is already building up shows me that their message is landing. And so when you get Kai Pritchard in front of you, if you get him to his visit, which I think they're going to be able to do, you are basically now the last official visit that he takes out of his big 3. He's got Duke on there too, but I could easily see if BC blows him away, him committing to BC and canceling the Duke trip. That's where things are going right now. Like, I was very concerned that he would not even make it to BC. It's hard to make a pitch to a recruit that you really want if they're already gone. Like, the world that we live in terms of Boston College recruiting is different than what obviously the Blue Bloods live in. Blue Bloods, you look at their official visitor list, they got guys committed everywhere. That's the way they just work it. BC is, and it's kind of those mid-tier schools, kind of what we are, right? They don't like that. They don't like to let official visits happen with guys that are already committed to them. They usually make you cancel it, or they're not going to take your commitment. You have to go back to, it wasn't Bill O'Brien, but it was Jeff Halfley. You had that wide receiver that I think he snuck it too. So that didn't help. But he went to Purdue and they yanked it. He was a 4-star. They yanked his commitment, and then he ended up going somewhere else. So this is why getting him on campus would be huge, because if he committed to Rutgers, you'd never see him. I think BC is going to get him here, and I am feeling good that BC has a very good chance at landing him. I think Illinois is going to be in there too, but this is now a very interesting development. The fact that Rutgers has 5 offensive linemen already. BC has 4, so they're up there too. But I think that, playing for Matt Applebaum and Bill O'Brien is a big attractive feature for a lot of players and for smart players. And I feel like Kai Pritchard is one of those kind of kids. So we'll have to wait to see what that means. And if I'm right or wrong on this, maybe you guys think I'm different. Maybe you're a first listener here and you're like, AJ, I listen to you every day. I don't believe you on this one. Put it in the comment section. I'd love to hear it. All right. In a moment, I'm going to wrap things up. BC's busy football weekend ended with a big camp. I'm going to explain why, even though only it seems like 2 or 3 offers went out of 1,000 recruits, it's bigger than that. And I'll explain what I mean by that in just a moment. Welcome back. This is Locked On Boston College, your team every day. And if you are looking for a second listen, if you have not already listened to all my episodes last week, if you have not done that already, go do that first. But if you're looking for another show, check out Locked On College Football with Spencer McLaughlin. I love getting a national perspective on things. We're all in our different silos in terms of like college football fandom, but to hear things about what nationally is going on, it's really interesting stuff. So check out Locked On College Football on YouTube or wherever you're getting your podcasts. Now, the weekend wasn't just official visits. BC also had one of their first camps. I think they have 4 this month. On Sunday, these coaches must never sleep. They had a camp for, from what I heard, over 1,000 football players from all over the place. And, this is a great opportunity, first of all, for these coaches to find diamonds in the rough. A lot of times, the kids that they end up offering, they see at camp first. And maybe down the road, you watch some of their, junior film or whatever, and then boom, the offer comes. Because you got to see what they're like, you got to meet them, all that good stuff. Other times, you just see enough at camp and you go, boom, that's who I want to offer. And that happened twice with a Don Bosco cornerback from the class of 28, Don Bosco, California. Great program. Love that idea. And then someone from West Orange, New Jersey, a tight end that was also offered, Sidney Padilla. He's class of 27. So you had 2 offers, which, looking at the grand scheme of this camp, seems minuscule. If you had 1,000+ recruits there and you had offered 2, but that's, as I said before, you got your eyes on a lot of players. Many of them you will offer probably later, and because they're camp kids. And many of them, if you read my interviews with them on Eagle Insider, they'll tell you their first experience meeting the staff was at a camp. That's just how it works. So I don't read too much into this, specifically this camp, not having a ton of offers. I think that, like, when they get to the elite camps, that's when you're going to see more. The elite camps are like invitational ones, where they invite players that they really like and want to see what they're going to be up to. You're going to see some big ones there. But the reason the mega camp is big was, if you looked at the graphic that they put out, there were, tons of high school coaches there, tons of local colleges. Like, they had anything from, not even local, like Bowling Green was there. I don't know how that connection happens, but you go from UConn to URI to UMass, like Brown, Harvard. I saw WPI was there. Like, all, FBS all the way down to D2, D3. And this is a great opportunity for the kids that show up because many of these kids realize they're not stupid, that many of them are not going to be in BC's wheelhouse. Many of them are going to be a D2, D3 player, and that's fine. But they get time in front of the Stonehill coach or the URI coach, and that's great. But it's more community building and strengthening relationships that I think is what is so key about these camps. For BC, Bill O'Brien is running this with his staff. If you saw pictures, Sivan Huggins, I saw Jordan Thomas there, Spencer Dickow was there. Like everyone on his staff is there. This gives you a chance to meet some of the high school coaches that are there. And so when you get into those conversations later, when you're trying to get a local kid to commit, or a kid from New York or New Jersey or whatever, you now have a little bit of backing behind that. Because there's coaches out there, I'll be frank, there's probably coaches locally that don't want to send if it came down to like sending your kid to Duke versus BC, they're going to pick Duke every time. And that is a battle Bill O'Brien has to fight. He needs to be able to show you that sending your football players to Boston College is advantageous to your high school, your recruits, and their families. And so these camps, if there's big high school coaches there, and I'm sure there was, they get the opportunity to really solidify those relationships and to rebuild some of the things that may have been, not burned down, but frayed under past regimes. They're not saying that Jeff Halfley or Steve Adazio didn't have good relationships with certain coaches. I'm sure they did, but there may be some that just didn't like them. And now it's on Bill O'Brien to have to fix that. So these camps are huge for that kind of stuff. So you have those two offers, and believe me, the fact you got a kid from Don Bosco to come in to check out your school is a pretty cool deal. Again, this is recorded on Sunday night, so don't shout at me if like 5 kids get offered over the night. I'm telling you right as I record this. But I think this was a big deal. And you got a chance to evaluate players to run them through. So as I said, there's elite camps. I think there's a quarterback camp, and there's a 7v7. Those are all camps that we've seen offers go through in the past. So it's been like, again, I go back to these coaches and how the heck do they have a life? They went from basically booked out on Friday, getting kids in for official visits through Saturday, then all through Sunday doing this camp. I mean, their camp today went from 8 to 8. That was how it was a 12-hour camp. That is crazy. So this is showing you that they're really putting in the work. They're really putting in that legwork to try to get kids that they're showing interest in. Now, on tomorrow's show, we're going to have a special guest, Jackson Moore of 247 Stanford site. We did a show a couple weeks ago where I talked to Michigan State's. Well, we're on to Stanford now. And Jackson Moore covers Stanford for 247. I can't wait to have him on. He's going to tell me all about what's going on with Frank Reich, the transfer portal exodus that they suffered, and really get into everything that's going on so that we know about that upcoming game against the Cardinal. And we'll probably have Jackson on again, too, because he covers Cal, too. So we'll see him in a couple weeks after that, too. But thank you all for listening. Follow me on Twitter at AJBlack247. Hey, we're on TikTok now. I threw up my first talk. I don't know what they're called. Kids use it all the time, right? It's Locked On Boston College on TikTok. Follow me on there. I don't know what it does, but I'll upload stuff onto it. We'll see what happens. Find me on any social media. Make sure you like us on YouTube, wherever you get your podcast. And I hope to see you all again soon for another episode of Locked On Boston College, your team every day.